Hello, welcome back. I'm Tonya from Tonya's Witchy Kitchen, and how are you doing today? It is a blustery, windy day today. Like, you can tell, look at my hair. There's nothing to it. It's just like, whew, wind blown. Like, putting gas in, get wind blown. You know, you get out of the vehicle, it's just, whew. It's like, what's the point of doing your hair? Yeah, so much for, trying to look cute when I went to town today. It's a thing, but very, very windy day today. Yeah, it's kind of weird. Like, before, like your previous years, it just seemed like we had so much wind, and this last year doesn't seem like it's been as windy, which is super weird. But then we have these days where it's just like 40 miles per hour. Because we used to say if it was 25 miles per hour or less, that was just breezy. It's always 25 miles per hour. So. I mean, but whatever, right? Actually, I can't stand the wind. It's something, I relate it to one year our bathroom flooded, the great flood of whatever year that was. We came home from vacation and my little one was still little, and he ran into the bathroom, in my bathroom, to use the bathroom, and he came back and he's like, "Mom, there's water all over the floor," and I didn't do it. Yeah, like 2 inches of water on the floor. Yeah. So that was not fun at all. And then after that, they bring in these commercial fans, to dry everything out. Oh, it was horrible. It was just horrible. And ever since that time, I can't stand fans running, like bathroom fans, vehicle fans. I can't run my Suburban fan, you know what I mean, like on high, because it just aggravates me. So when the wind gets really strong and it's hitting the house, or just really you hear that wind, it just really bugs me. Yeah, so not fun at all on that front. Yeah, so it's a blustery, windy day, according to Winnie the Pooh. It's a Wednesday. It's not really Wednesday, but it fit. Okay, but anyway, today I was going to wrap up our hot process soap. I did a little more investigating, a little more research, and there was a lot more on the internet to find now than there was when I first originally did it. But anyway, yes, so all about the hot process soap process and the stages that it goes through. So be kind, be forgiving, be you. And let's go check out the last of the hot process soap. Okay, into our last soap, which is dark cherry. It's not really our last soap, it's our last hot process soap for a while, maybe, hopefully. As you can see, I am under the 130 mark on my oils. Depends on where I actually hit on that crock pot. And in here, we are using kale and clay and brewer's yeast. Yes, I'm on a brewer's yeast kick. Thank you very much. I will give you a tip, though, if you use too much in hot process soap, it does kind of stink a little bit while you're cooking it. Kind of like buttermilk. Buttermilk kind of gets a little bit of a stinky smell if you add it at trace. But once, and then you add the fragrance oil, and it's like, whoo. But after that, it's not so bad. Once it starts to cure and everything, you get the fragrance oil and not the buttermilk smell, okay? So that's an important thing to to note for yourself. So we're going to talk about the stages of hot process soap. So they say there are 3. Now, I have never heard of this first one, and they call it separation. When I first started making hot process soap, there was no talk about separation stage. None. And funny thing is I don't even remember a separation stage happening. I had this little blue crock pot, and I'd have to go back and look and see if I have any of those videos, actually, because I did soap for a few years before I actually started YouTubing it, right? So the separation stage happens after 15 to 20 minutes, which makes perfect sense because my crock pot a lot of times is on high and I feel like it cooks too fast and it separates. But I guess that's the separation stage. And you stir it out. Who knew? Who knew, right? I didn't know. So this is my initial. So we'll go back to this part. This is just my initial bringing it to trace. Now, there's people that say it takes 10 to 15 minutes to get to trace. I've never had a hot process soap recipe be so hard that it took me 10 to 15 minutes. Now, I can have that with liquid soap when I make the soap paste, yes. But not my cold process, hot process soap normally, okay? Not the sodium hydroxide. Okay, so 15 minutes and it's starting to bubble. Yes, of course, this is perfect. But it's also separation stage. That's what they call it, separation stage. Like I said, I didn't know. I don't like this stage. I think my temperature is, I thought I took a thing, 178. So we're close to being done, technically, if 200 is the marker point here. I mean, I can go from, before I would be done. That means my soap would cook within 15, 20 minutes. It'd be almost done. And I would cook it, an hour and a half, to make sure it's done. Now, I am not talking about potassium hydroxide when you make liquid soap, because to me, I can get a reading after half an hour and it's still purple. You've seen that, right? On the pH strip. But that's too high. That's still, and I don't know if, I haven't done enough research on liquid soap, if that is where you are supposed to actually, will it saponify on its own? Probably. I don't know. But when I make it into paste, and that's a good reason to leave it set overnight, which I do. I leave it sit in the crock pot overnight and then, take it out and weigh it, and but maybe it helps it continue to saponify. But like I said, I don't know because I don't do a lot of research. I just do my thing. Okay, so once you hit separation stage, it says stir to bring it together. Well, I use my immersion blender to bring it together because I don't like that stage. It freaks me out a little bit. I know it's stupid. It's one of those things that it's like my husband's afraid of bats, and I'm like, it's a bat, and he will duck and cover if he hears the word bat outside and he's outside. But I think it's funny, and because it's a bat. But okay, so we are bringing this separation stage together. It floors me. So so they kind of deviate though, because one said separation applesauce Vaseline, one said separation mashed potato to glossy, which I kind of like. I always heard applesauce mashed potato glossy. Okay, but what do you do? So this is another 15 minutes and it's looking great there. Look at that stuff. You can see some gelling on the sides, which is, your petroleum jelly staged Vaseline. Maybe Vaseline was used a lot. I don't use it a lot, and so I would never think to refer it to Vaseline, but I love it when it gels. I really do love when you get that beautiful gel in there, but I usually have to cook it a little bit longer to get the beautiful gel. But as you can see, it gets a funky texture. It's coming off the spoon kind of funny, Yeah. So this is mashed potato. It's applesauce. Okay, yeah, you get the natural applesauce stage. I guess that could be applesauce. I prefer mashed potatoes, so I'm just going to call this the mashed potato stage because this is stage 2. It can be foamy. You want to make sure you watch for overflow. I usually have that problem, and I guess it's the first 20 to 30 minutes. And once again, you just stir it. Make sure it comes together, and continue on cooking for another, my thing is every 15 minutes. I guess I didn't put the timer there for you to see, did I? Nope. It was there, believe me. So after 15 minutes, you should find some little clumps of Vaseline looking stuff, glossy stuff, which is your gel phase. And that means this is the time to stir in any extra additives you want to stir in. The one thing I don't do, and I know I talked about the yogurt, adding yogurt to make it fluid. You're only adding a tablespoon per pound of oils at that point, okay? I wouldn't add milk or anything like that at this stage. If you're going to do a milk soap, do it with your lye water. Do it in the beginning, or add it at trace if you're doing buttermilk. I wouldn't add it now because, you know, how much longer are you going to let it cook at this point? So that was my fragrance oil. My fragrance oil is, it's a cherry from Wholesale Supplies Plus. I'm not going to tell you what the name is because I don't really like the name of the soap, or their fragrance oil. I like the fragrance oil. I wanted to try it, but yeah, that's a whole nother thing together. So for this one, I am mixing it with Trial by Fire. That is the mica from Nurture's Home Handmade. I can never get it right. And I'm just dividing it into this. Fragrance oil does discolor to a darker brown, so I'm going to cross my fingers. It is hot process. I'm going to cross my fingers and hope that it will stay at least partially red swirled, that the red will swirl through. So, okay, so I know that was a little quick, but did you get the three? The three? You have separation, mashed potato, and glossy. Actually, I prefer those to the other ones because it makes a little more sense to me than separation, applesauce, and Vaseline. Applesauce to me is more runny. It would be, to me, that would be the separation stage. You see what I'm saying? So, yeah. But I am going to link, the Nerdy Farm Wife has a beautiful blog. I think it's liquid soap, but she does take you through, and there's all sorts of stages and all sorts of pictures of what the soap stages, plus probably like I don't know how many more that she takes you through with the liquid soap. There's another one from soapguild.org, which is hot process for beginners, and it was very detailed, had some really good tips in there that as a soaper that I've been doing this for so long, I tend to forget to tell you. See how that rolls off, and do you see the gloss as it comes off? Do you see the gloss? Isn't that beautiful? And what a beautiful red. Yeah. Trial by Fire. I know Mad Micah's has come up with some new red ones. I just can't even tell you if those are actually, if they really work. You'd have to read the reviews. I just know the Trial by Fire is a wonderful mica. You do watch the ratio. Because it'll be, it's a fun soap. Yeah, it's a fun mica. Okay, but still really fluid. As you can see, this has cooked at minimum 45 minutes. Okay, 45 minutes. 15 minutes was the separation stage. Next stage was the mashed potato stage, and then we had the glossy where I added my additives. There you go. Fragrance oils, colors. You can add pumice powder, those types of things. Your colloidal oatmeal, if you don't really want to bake it in there, but you want it, at the end. Any of those things at the end that you want to add that you didn't want it to go through the saponification process. There you go. And that is a nice thing with a lot of these natural oils that don't hold up in cold processed soap, because they don't handle the saponification process. When you hot process it, an oil like that, a fragrance oil like that, the saponification process is pretty much done. And so you add the fragrance oil or essential oils or whatever you're using, and it's not going to go through that process. It's done. So you save some of those. Sometimes you lose a lot of the notes or the fragrance oil itself, So one thing about fragrance oils, you don't have to worry about flash point and the fragrance oil blowing up on you. But make sure it's not so hot, the soap, that did you ever make hard candy and you put the peppermint oil and it just went whoof right in your face? It felt like that because it rose on the steam. So, be careful of that. If it seems like the soap is cooking out your fragrance oil as you're pouring it in, maybe wait, cover it and wait about 5 minutes, I was debating on slicing the top off this, but I just thought it was so cute when I was going to cut it that I didn't cut the top off. Okay, so there's not really a smooth top to this. Okay, let's look at the sides. I don't give you much glimpse. Not too bad. Not too bad at all. If you've seen me, I have actually fixed a hot process soap. I fixed my shave soap because it looks so atrocious. The one that I rebatched, go back and look at that one. The sides are hellacious, and I actually fixed it, and it stays. So, I could fix every little hole in those, but it is hot process. It is rustic, and these are cute. Like, check out my swirlage. The one thing to remember really quick, when you are, always mix your soap, because the stuff on the side, if it cooks on really hard and stays and you don't mix it, you'll get those white splotchy pieces of soap. Yeah. Here are the fragrance oils for this hot process dark cherry bar. Here are the bars when I first cut them, and here are the bars when they are totally cured. Yeah, you can see the dark color. But anyway, I hope you had a good time with these 3 videos. I will see you next time, and God bless.